In August of 2016, surveillance footage from a gas station in Gainesville, Florida, showed a black pickup truck and silver sedan pulling up after an argument in traffic. The pickup's driver, Jacob Sylvester, emerged from the vehicle and got into an unspecified altercation with the other motorist. As the situation spiraled out of control, two women exited Sylvester's pickup. One of them was holding a handgun, which she pointed at another driver and waved around while yelling at him. Sylvester intervened and promptly wrestled the weapon from his companion's hands. He was arrested on charges of assault and battery, but refused to give up the identity of the gun-toting woman. Nevertheless, 2 weeks later, police were able to identify and arrest Casey May Adkins, 26, of Weehawken, a tiny town in Florida's Gulf County. Number 10. Gina DeMarco. During rush hour traffic on July the 30th of 2016, Las Vegas woman Gina DeMarco collided with driver Adrian Rodriguez along US 95 at the Flamingo Road off-ramp in Nevada. 32-year-old DeMarco emerged from the vehicle and began cursing at the other driver, who had begun recording her on his cell phone. At some point during her tirade, the woman lifted up her hoodie and pulled down her sports bra, exposing her bare chest to Rodriguez and his family inside the vehicle. Minutes later, she drove away. DeMarco surrendered to the Nevada Highway Patrol less than a week after the video was taken. Her charges included indecent or obscene exposure in front of a child under the age of 18, a felony, in addition to failing to stop at the scene of an accident and failing to report an accident. There were also 2 fraud charges associated with DeMarco having been behind the wheel, one of which was the felony of using another person's ID for an unlawful purpose. According to law enforcement, had she not exposed herself and remained at the scene, the woman would have only received an unsafe lane change ticket. Number 9. Shania Faith Cofield and Peter Allen McLaren. A Florida couple were arrested in the spring of 2023 following a violent road rage incident at the intersection of US 301 and Martin Luther King Boulevard in Tampa. The video-recorded confrontation involved Shania Faith Cofield and Peter Allen McLaren, who were enraged at a 31-year-old woman behind the wheel of a Chevy sedan. Cofield emerged from her vehicle and approached the Chevy's driver's side with a pistol in hand. McLaren took the weapon from her and, in the moments that followed, used it to try and break one of the Chevy's rear windows while screaming at the driver to get out of the car. Simultaneously, Cofield threw several forceful punches into the driver's side window. The woman then climbed on the Chevy's hood and stomped on its windshield. As reported by the witness who'd captured a video of the altercation, the Chevy driver had struck the couple's car and then attempted to drive away. The witness urged the couple to call the police on the woman instead of destroying her vehicle. Cofield and McLaren fled the scene but were eventually both arrested on multiple felony charges. Number 8. Jaime Yun. Shortly before 11:30 p.m. on June the 8th of 2023, Dr. Jaime Yun got into a verbal dispute with 31-year-old Dexter Alexander near Schenectady and East New York Avenues in Brooklyn, New York City. A physical struggle ensued and it culminated with Alexander punching Yun in the face. The 56-year-old cardiothoracic surgeon dropped to the pavement and hit his head. He was reported as being conscious and alert when law enforcement arrived at the scene. His condition deteriorated after he was taken to Kings County Hospital, where he ultimately succumbed to a traumatic brain injury on June the 16th. Yun was survived by a wife and 2 children. Alexander was initially arrested on charges of assault in the 3rd degree and menacing in the 3rd degree. He pleaded not guilty during a subsequent arraignment, and his next court date was set for July. Number 7. Ashley Barkis. Social media influencer and content creator Ashley Barkis was involved in a road rage altercation with several members of an Asian family in May of 2023. A video of the incident would show Barkis and 4 other people as they were arguing next to a grey SUV and a white minivan between which a minor fender bender had reportedly occurred. Barkis started hurling abuse at one of the male family members, yelling at him that he hit her car and asking if he was legally allowed to be in the US. The man pulled out his license and waved it in Barkis' face. The woman slapped it out of his hands and struck him in the back of the head as he bent down to pick it up. Barkis then attacked the rest of the family when they intervened. pushing one member and striking two others in the head. Refocusing her attention on the driver who'd started filming her in the meantime, Barkis hit his cell phone, which fell to the ground. When the man tried to retrieve it, the influencer pushed him into oncoming traffic, only a few feet away from a passing car. A video of the confrontation stitched together from multiple angles and with photos of the injuries sustained by the family members subsequently went viral on TikTok. Barkis took to Instagram in the aftermath to apologize for her behavior towards the family and for the racist comments, adding that she was half Filipino and that the way she'd acted on the day didn't reflect who she really was. Netizens reacting to the apology video described it as disingenuous, and that Barkis was only using her heritage as a way of downplaying the attack and her racist tirade. Some call for her to be charged with attempted murder for pushing the man into traffic. The apology video was subsequently taken down and Barkis went on a hiatus from social media. It wasn't clear if she was criminally charged for the altercation. Number 6. Karen ESCAMILLA. While driving through Thornton, Colorado, on October the 11th of 2019, Karen ESCAMILLA got into a traffic dispute with an unnamed male teenager. During the course of the argument, the teenager brandished a gun and shot 20-year-old ESCAMILLA in the face. The bullet went through the young woman's cheek, breaking her jaw in 7 places and got lodged in her sinuses. She was rushed to an intensive care unit where doctors mended the entrance wound and wired her mouth shut. ESCAMILLA gave an update on her condition through a social media post on October the 25th. She revealed that she'd lost the bone and palate inside her mouth as well as the bone beneath her nose. The latter complication reportedly meant that whatever she ate came out of her nose. Her bottom jaw had been left intact, but the damage to the upper part had left the young woman unable to speak or chew. A GoFundMe was set up to help her with her surgeries, one of which would involve transferring bone from her leg to reconstruct her jaw. The teenager who'd shot her was arrested on multiple charges, including attempted murder. Number 5. Incident in Mexico City. In late 2018, 2 women, one of whom was in a minivan and the other in a Volkswagen convertible, got into a minor traffic accident in Mexico City. In the moments that followed, the woman in the minivan, who wore a t-shirt that read, "Nice is the new cool," retrieved a metal pole from her vehicle. A bystander recorded her as she then began striking the convertible's windshield and mirror, shattering both as the woman's violent outburst unfolded. The driver in the other car got out but didn't confront her. The enraged woman then returned to her minivan and proceeded to drive into the Volkswagen's side, damaging her own car in the process. She reversed and smashed her vehicle into the Volkswagen a total of 4 times as onlookers shouted at her to stop before she fled the scene. Local police opened an investigation and subsequent updates on the matter indicated that the assailant's tags weren't registered to the car she'd been seen driving in the video, but to a 1998 Chevrolet Monza. Number 4. Alexa Danella. In May of 2022, Alexa Danella was driving home from Walmart in Providence, Rhode Island, when she used her horn on a man who'd cut her off. The second driver, who was identified as 23-year-old Zariel Olivo, then started tailgating Danella. They both pulled over in North Providence, at which point Olivo got out of his vehicle with a sword in hand and tried to open the driver's side door. Danella, who was in the car with her boyfriend, later told a media outlet, "I could see him like foaming at the mouth, telling us to get out of the car." Danella also noted that there was a female passenger in Olivo's car whom she hoped would intervene and calm him down, but she quickly realized the woman couldn't care less. Olivo and his passenger drove off upon noticing that Danella's boyfriend was taking photos of them. In the aftermath, Olivo was arrested and arraigned on assault as well as disorderly conduct and weapons counts. Number 3. Avery Tomasco. Avery Tomasco, an Emmy Award-winning meteorologist from Austin, Texas, was driving on Mopac at Steck when a Toyota Prius abruptly swerved into his lane in late June of 2023. As Tomasco later reported, he applied the brakes and used the horn, but it was too late and the two vehicles clashed. The minor collision was captured on Tomasco's dashboard camera. The Prius driver kept going, but the meteorologist got his attention and they eventually pulled into the shopping center at Capital of Texas Highway and 183. Tomasco and the other man got out of their cars and the former started taking photos of the damage. The driver accused Tomasco of hitting his car, to which he replied, "No, you hit my car." The Prius driver walked towards Tomasco and without warning swung at him with force. Fortunately, Tomasco managed to avoid taking the brunt of the hit and it only glanced him. After the sucker punch, as the meteorologist described it, both men went out of the dashcam's view and Tomasco called for help. At that point, his attacker walked away and returned to his vehicle. Police arrived at the scene and the victim gave them a copy of the video. They subsequently put out a warrant for the Prius driver's arrest, and in a social media post about the altercation, Tomasco stated an intention of pressing charges while also advocating for the usefulness of dashcams. Number 2. Daniel Bosquez. 36-year-old New York man Daniel Bosquez was arrested in April of 2018 for attacking another driver's car with a baseball bat. After an unspecified traffic dispute on the New York State Thruway, Bosquez and the other man pulled over on I-87 in the town of Ramapo. The latter recorded Bosquez as he smashed the driver's side window and the mirror of his Subaru. The victim kept filming Bosquez as he seemingly geared up to strike him as well. The Subaru driver asked, "Are you going to attack me?" and then repeated the question, "What did I do to you?" Bosquez returned to his vehicle, a maroon Nissan, and the victim continued filming, capturing his license plate. He then aimed the camera at the assailant's female passenger and asked if she was embarrassed of Bosquez, who destroyed his brand new car. The latter sped off and was subsequently arrested for criminal mischief in the second degree, menacing in the second degree, and criminal possession of a weapon in the fourth degree with intent to use. If you somehow missed part 1 a while back, then we still have that lined up for you immediately after number 1. Stay tuned if you'd like. Number 1. Incident in Portland. In the fall of 2021, a motorist captured a dramatic road rage confrontation on the streets of Portland, Oregon. 2 men had been involved in a fender bender and one of them emerged from his vehicle with a sword. He raised the bladed weapon behind his head, ready to strike as he kept stepping towards the second driver. The latter was seemingly unfazed by the threat as he kept his composure with both arms by his sides. When the attacker went back to his vehicle, the would-be victim popped his trunk. At that point, the onlooker recording them exclaimed, "Oh, what's he gonna get?" He then stopped filming and ducked upon seeing the second driver emerge with an assault rifle, possibly an AK-15. The incident wasn't believed to have resulted in actual violence, and the video of it went viral. Among those reacting to it, one user commented, "Who brings a sword to a gunfight?" while another quipped, "If there was a civil war between Democrats and Republicans, this is what it would look like." Number 8. Erica Boudreau. In June of 2020, a young woman was arrested for allegedly ramming into a man's truck and attempting to strike him with her car as he exited the vehicle. The road rage incident occurred right outside the Englewood Police Department in Colorado. The suspect was identified as Erica Boudreau, who'd left a tattoo parlor where she'd had a few drinks when a man in a pickup truck allegedly began following her and hurling insults at her. The conflict continued down the road until the driver of the truck pulled up to the parking spot outside the police station. As a neighbor later recounted to investigators, Boudreau then plowed her SUV directly into the parked truck, pushing it through a landscaped area and into a security wall. The truck driver climbed out of his vehicle, at which point Boudreau backed up before accelerating again in an attempt to strike him where he stood. The man ran into the station and Boudreau's SUV rammed into a light pole. She subsequently attempted to flee the scene on foot but was caught by Englewood officers. The woman faced a plethora of charges that included attempted first-degree assault, criminal mischief, DUI, reckless driving, and driving with a suspended or revoked license. Number 7. Cornelia Moore. A 27-year-old woman was shot and killed during a road rage incident in Austin, Texas, on September the 4th of 2021. The victim, identified as Cornelia Moore, had contacted the authorities at around 12:30 p.m. She went on to report that someone in a silver Dodge Charger was following her and engaging in road rage type behavior on Interstate 35. Moore claimed that the individual had struck her vehicle and then pointed a gun in her direction. While still on the phone with emergency dispatchers, Moore was shot by the driver of the Charger, but was able to provide her location before she became unresponsive. Members of the Austin Police Department located the woman's car on the southbound service road of I-35. She'd sustained a single gunshot wound and was ultimately pronounced dead at the scene, in spite of the life-saving measures performed on her by first responders. Homicide investigators were able to identify two suspects believed to have been in the Dodge Charger at the time of the shooting. APD arrested 32-year-old Tony McCulloch and Rafini McCorkle, aged 30, both of whom were charged with Moore's murder. The victim was honored by friends and family with a balloon release at Zilker Park on September the 9th. Number 6. Kimberly Ong and Ryan Arakaki. An incensed woman tailed a man who'd cut her off at a shopping center in Honolulu, Hawaii, and berated him while her young child was in the passenger seat of her car. The heated encounter between Kimberly Ong and Ryan Arakaki took place on September the 10th of 2014. The latter driver had cut in front of the woman at the Mauna Lua shopping center near Pearl Harbor, with the maneuver nearly causing a rear-end collision. The man's careless driving elicited a furious response from Ong, who proceeded to follow him for an estimated 5 minutes. As she was tailing him, Ong shouted profanity-laden insults through her window and made obscene gestures towards the other motorist. Arakaki pulled out his cell phone and began to record the altercation. At one point in the conflict, Ong stepped in the middle of the road and exited her vehicle to confront the man. She stuck her head through his driver's side window and continued her expletive-filled rant, all while her young son waited in the car. After tensions died down and the two parties went their separate ways, Arakaki uploaded the video recording of the incident online, where it received hundreds of thousands of views. The man knowingly broke the law by using his cell phone while operating a moving vehicle, but he claimed that he wanted evidence of Ong's assault. Investigators deemed the woman's descent on Arakaki's car to have been unauthorized entry into a motor vehicle. Number 5. The Queens road rage robbery. On May the 8th of 2021, an enraged driver assaulted and robbed two individuals during a traffic altercation in the New York City borough of Queens. The incident was recorded by nearby surveillance cameras, with the footage showing a white Nissan Sentra striking a grey Honda Accord at about 7 p.m. The 23-year-old driver of the Nissan got out of the car, as did his older male passenger. Giovanni Padin, aged 27, emerged from the Honda along with a female passenger and furiously demanded payment for the damage caused by the collision. Padin then attacked the two men, punching them in the face and knocking one of them to the ground. The suspect took the victim's cell phones as well as a wallet belonging to the older man, which reportedly contained an ID and bank cards. Padin and his female companion subsequently returned to his vehicle and sped away from the scene. NYPD investigators were able to positively identify Padin as the attacker, and he was arrested on May the 12th. He was charged with multiple offenses in connection to the road rage event, including second-degree assault and second-degree robbery. Number 4. Mia Renee Gamboa. In September of 2021, a 24-year-old woman was taken into police custody after pointing a firearm at another driver during a road rage episode in Truckee, California. State Highway Patrol officers apprehended Mia Renee Gamboa of Merced just before 6 p.m. on September the 6th. While riding in a car on Interstate 80, Gamboa had reportedly become embroiled in a heated exchange with another motorist, whom she threatened with a handgun. At the time of the incident, the armed woman was sitting in the passenger seat of the vehicle while a man believed to be her boyfriend was driving. There were also 3 children in the car, none of whom belonged to Gamboa. Following the suspect's arrest, investigators searched the vehicle and allegedly found 2 guns, more than $10,000 in cash, and a bottle of OxyContin pills that hadn't been prescribed by a doctor. The male driver was questioned by the police, but he was neither arrested nor charged with any crime. Gamboa was ultimately charged with brandishing a firearm, child endangerment, and possession of narcotics with the intent to distribute. Number 3. Richard KAMROWSKI and Mark FITZGERALD. In January of 2019, 2 drivers were charged following a road rage incident on the Massachusetts Turnpike in which a man clung to the hood of an SUV as it drove for multiple miles. The confrontation unfolded after 37-year-old Mark FITZGERALD of Lynn swerved in front of Framingham resident Richard KAMROWSKI, aged 65, and bumped into his car. FITZGERALD attempted to take off following the collision, but KAMROWSKI stood in front of his vehicle in an effort to stop him. Nevertheless, the driver accelerated, prompting KAMROWSKI to jump onto the hood of the car to avoid getting run over. He reportedly implored FITZGERALD to stop driving, but he ignored the elderly man's pleas and continued driving down the highway for roughly 3 miles, allegedly reaching speeds of up to 70 miles per hour. KAMROWSKI unsuccessfully tried to contact 911 with one hand while clinging to the windshield with the other. Fortunately, concerned bystanders boxed FITZGERALD's SUV in and forced him to stop moving, which allowed KAMROWSKI to safely climb down from the hood of the vehicle. The motorist was forced out of his car by an armed passerby, who reportedly had a license to carry a firearm. FITZGERALD was charged with assault with a dangerous weapon, while KAMROWSKI was charged with disorderly conduct. Number 2. Candelario Gonzalez. A Florida man fatally shot a fellow motorist during a road rage incident that went horribly wrong in July of 2015. The victim, 44-year-old Candelario Gonzalez, contacted the police about a reckless driver on the roadway during the evening hours of July the 23rd. Gonzalez decided to follow the other vehicle in his own car, inside of which sat his wife, daughter, and grandson. The other driver, who was identified as 51-year-old Robert Doyle, called 911 as well and reported that Gonzalez was trying to run him off the road. Both vehicles eventually reached the former's residence in Beverly Hills, and Gonzalez blocked the homeowner's vehicle in his driveway. At about 10 p.m., Gonzalez stepped out of his car. Doyle, who was armed with a handgun, approached the man and fatally shot him at least 5 times in front of his family. An eyewitness told the authorities that Gonzalez was in the process of backing up when the gun was fired, but Doyle's wife claimed the other driver was charging her husband. Doyle then held the rest of Gonzalez's family at gunpoint until the arrival of Citrus County Sheriff's deputies. The shooter was ultimately arrested and charged with second-degree murder, in addition to 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Roughly a year after the incident had taken place, all the charges against Doyle were dropped. The decision followed a stand-your-ground hearing by a Citrus County judge who ruled that the man had acted in self-defense. Number 1. The Hollywood STUNTZ assault. On September the 29th of 2013, a 33-year-old man was viciously attacked by a gang of motorcyclists on the Henry Hudson Parkway in New York City. The violent altercation was preceded by a 911 call made by Alexian Lien, who told operators that he'd witnessed a group of bikers run a red light and nearly hit a woman carrying a baby. Lien's wife had reportedly tossed a half-eaten plum and a water bottle at the motorcycles, prompting one of them to punch the driver's side mirror of Lien's SUV. A short while later, a biker allegedly pulled out in front of Lien and decelerated sharply, causing him to make light bumper contact with the motorcycle from behind. Within seconds, the scene devolved into chaos as other bikers charged Lien's vehicle, which was also carrying the couple's 2-year-old daughter. The assailants proceeded to strike and kick the car, compelling Lien to accelerate in an attempt to escape. As he drove away from the scene, Lien ran over 3 motorcyclists, including a man named Edwin Mises, who suffered a fractured spine and a punctured lung. The bikers retaliated by pursuing Lien for several miles. The man's wife contacted 911 a total of 4 times during the 8-minute chase. While Lien was stopped at a red light, one of the bikers got close to his car and shattered the driver's side window with his helmet. Lien was then dragged from the SUV and beaten relentlessly by several of the bikers from the group. They'd allegedly tried to pull the man's wife from the car as well, but were unable to do so because she had her seatbelt on. Bystanders eventually stepped in and put an end to the assault, which left Lien with lacerations to his face and sides. A video of the entire incident was uploaded to LiveLeak and subsequently received international attention. Some of the motorcyclists involved in the chase and attack were identified as off-duty police officers. 15 individuals were arrested in connection to the road rage event and 11 bikers were ultimately convicted. Thanks for watching. Would you rather get into a road rage altercation with UFC champion John Jones, or for a month only walk wherever you have to go? Let us know in the comments section below.